Imagine you've just been handed exactly what you've spent the last 5 years dreaming about. Maybe it's the promotion, the massive investment for your business, or the partner you thought was out of your league. This is the moment where the music is supposed to swell, the credits should roll, and you should finally feel like you've arrived. But instead of a victory lap, something strange happens. You feel a cold knot of dread in your stomach. You start missing deadlines that used to be easy. You pick a fight with the very person who helped you get there. You find yourself staying up until 4 a.m, scrolling through nothingness, when you have the most important meeting of your life the next day. To any outsider, it looks like you're being lazy or impulsive. But if we look at the internal monitor of your brain, it looks like you're trying to survive a car crash. Most people think the greatest fear is failure, but failure is familiar. Failure has a script. The real terror for the human psyche is actually success. Today, on The Inverse Mind, we are going to deconstruct the hidden architecture of self-sabotage. We are going to explore why your brain views your biggest win as a life-threatening emergency, and how to stop the internal guard from burning your own house down just as you finally finished building it. To understand the fear of success, we have to look past the common logic that says we all want to win. In the world of the subconscious, winning isn't just about gain. It is about change. And to the primitive parts of your brain, change is synonymous with danger. Your current life, even if it's mediocre or frustrating, is a known quantity. You know how to survive it. Your brain has mapped out all the traps and exits. But success is a map that hasn't been drawn yet. It's a territory where the rules are different, the expectations are higher, and the people are watching. For many, success feels less like a trophy and more like being pushed onto a stage under a blinding spotlight without a script. The silence you feel isn't peace. It's the sound of 1,000 eyes waiting for you to trip. We have to talk about the concept of the upper limit problem. This is a psychological thermostat that every human being carries inside them. We have an internal setting for how much love, how much money, and how much creativity we are allowed to enjoy before we feel like we are breaking a rule. This thermostat was usually set in our early childhood based on the emotional climate of our home. If you grew up in a house where people were constantly struggling, or where being too happy was seen as being insensitive to others' pain, your thermostat is set low. When things start going too well, when you start to feel a level of success that exceeds your internal setting, your system sounds the alarm. You feel a sense of wrongness, a vibration of guilt. To turn the heat back down to a comfortable level of misery, you self-sabotage. You forget the keys, you lose the contract, or you get sick. You aren't doing these things because you are incompetent. You are doing them to get back into the zone of familiarity. This brings us to the social biology of success. We are tribal animals. For thousands of years, the worst thing that could happen to a human was to be cast out of the group. In a tribe, there is a delicate balance of status. If you suddenly become much more successful, much more wealthy, or much more visible than the rest of your tribe, you become a threat to the hierarchy. You risk alienating your friends and family. You fear that if you get too big, you will lose your connection to the people you love. This is often called the tall poppy syndrome, the idea that the flower that grows the tallest is the first to get its head cut off. Your fear of success is often a hidden loyalty to your origin. You subconsciously tell yourself, if I stay small, I stay one of them. If I win, I become a stranger. You would rather fail and be loved than succeed and be alone. There is also the terrifying weight of increased expectations. Failure is a one-time event, but success is a perpetual demand. When you fail, people stop looking at you. They move on. But when you succeed, the bar is raised. You have proven that you can do it, which means everyone expects you to do it again, and even better the next time. Success feels like being handed a heavy backpack and told that you have to run even faster now. For someone who already feels overwhelmed by life, success looks less like freedom and more like a lifetime sentence of high-performance pressure. You sabotage yourself because you want to take the backpack off. You want to go back to a place where no one expects anything from you, because in that place, you can't disappoint anyone. We must also explore the concept of the imposter syndrome, which is the engine that drives the fear of success for high achievers. When you are afraid of success, it's often because you have a deep-seated belief that your wins are a fluke. You think you've just been lucky, or that you've managed to trick everyone into thinking you're talented. In your mind, success isn't a reward, it's a setup. You feel like the more successful you become, the more people are looking at you, and the higher the probability that someone will finally see through the mask. You sabotage yourself as a preemptive strike. You would rather ruin your own reputation on your own terms than live in the constant anxiety of waiting for someone else to find out you're a fraud. It is a way of reclaiming control over your own downfall. The fear of success is also deeply tied to the fear of responsibility. Success gives you power, and power gives you the ability to make choices. For some, choice is the ultimate burden. As long as you are struggling or failing, you have a built-in excuse for why your life isn't what you want it to be. You can blame the economy, your boss, your upbringing, or your bad luck. But the moment you succeed, those excuses vanish. You are now the person at the helm. If things go wrong now, it's on you. Many people are terrified of their own potential because they don't want to be responsible for what they do with it. They would rather be a victim of circumstance than a master of their own fate, because being a master means there's no one else left to blame. In the inverse mind, we look at the hidden benefits of staying small. What does the person afraid of success gain? They gain invisibility. They gain the comfort of never being criticized. They gain the safety of never being envied. When you are at the bottom of the mountain, no one wants to push you off. But as you climb, you become a target for the projections of others. People will see their own failures in your success. They will tell you that you've changed, that you're greedy, or that you've forgotten where you came from. The fear of success is often a fear of the shadow of others. You are trying to avoid the social tax that comes with winning. You are trying to stay in the shade because you know that in the sun, you can't hide your flaws. There is also a fascinating neurological link between excitement and anxiety. To your nervous system, the physical sensation of being very excited and being very afraid is almost identical. Your heart rate increases, your breathing becomes shallow, and you get a rush of adrenaline. If you were raised in an environment where intense emotions were usually followed by something bad, like a fight, a disappointment, or a sudden loss, your brain has learned to misinterpret excitement as a warning. When you start to feel the thrill of a big win, your brain mislabels that energy as a threat. It thinks you are in danger, so it initiates a shutdown. This is why people often get depressed or exhausted right after a major achievement. They aren't ungrateful. Their nervous system is simply trying to regulate itself back down to a state of low-intensity safety. So, how do we move through this? How do we stop the internal thermostat from sabotaging our growth? The first step is what we call radical awareness. You have to start treating your self-sabotage not as a character flaw, but as a data point. When you find yourself procrastinating on a life-changing project, stop calling yourself lazy. Instead, ask the question, what am I trying to protect myself from right now? Are you trying to protect yourself from being seen? Are you trying to protect your connection to your family? Are you trying to avoid the backpack of responsibility? Once you name the fear, it loses its power to control you from the shadows. You move from being the victim of the sabotaging habit to being the observer of the survival mechanism. The second practical step is the expansion of your internal thermostat. You have to learn to sit with the discomfort of things going well. This is much harder than it sounds. Most of us are experts at handling crisis, but we are amateurs at handling peace. When something good happens, notice the immediate urge to check yourself. Notice the thought that says, "This is too good to be true," or "Something bad is about to happen." When that thought arrives, don't argue with it. Just acknowledge it and say, I am currently feeling the vibration of success, and it's okay for me to feel this. You are teaching your nervous system that joy is not a precursor to pain. You are slowly recalibrating your setting to allow for more light without the need to blow the fuse. You also need to redefine your relationship with your tribe. You have to accept the reality that as you grow, your circle will change. Some people will be inspired by your success, and they will grow with you. Others will be triggered by it, and they will try to pull you back down. This is the price of sovereignty. You cannot be a cycle breaker and a crowd pleaser at the same time. You have to be willing to be the person who outgrew the room. This doesn't mean you don't love the people you left behind. It means you realize that staying small doesn't actually help them. It just keeps everyone in the dark. Your success is a permission slip for others to do the same. Another practical tool is the separation of success from identity. One of the reasons success is so heavy is that we let it define who we are. We think that if we win, we are a winner, and if we then lose, we have been exposed as a loser. This makes every win feel like a precarious peak. But if you view success as merely a tool, a resource that allows you to do more of what you love, it loses its personal weight. Success isn't who you are, it's what you have. It's a set of keys, not a soul. When you stop making success about your worth as a human being, you stop being afraid of what will happen if you lose it. You can play the game more freely because you aren't betting your entire identity on every move. Finally, we have to address the fear of the future. Success requires you to live in a future that you haven't lived in before. This triggers our anticipatory anxiety. We spend all our time imagining the thousands of ways our success could go wrong. We worry about the taxes, the fake friends, the lawsuits, and the burnout. To combat this, you have to practice radical presence. Success doesn't happen in the future. It happens in the choices you make today. Focus on the work, not the weight of the result. When you stay in the present moment, the backpack of responsibility disappears because you are only carrying the single task in front of you. The fear of success is the ultimate paradox of the human mind. It is a sign that you are standing at the edge of your comfort zone, ready to step into a bigger version of yourself. Your self-sabotage isn't an enemy. It's a misguided guardian trying to keep you safe in a world that no longer exists. You have to thank that guardian for its service and then firmly take the lead. You have to prove to your own brain that you can handle the light, that you can handle the responsibility, and that you are allowed to be happy without an apology. The courtroom of your past is closed. The voices telling you to stay small are echoes, not instructions. You are not a tall poppy waiting to be cut. You are a force of nature that is finally learning how to bloom without fear. The only person you are truly outsmarting when you stay small is yourself. And in the inverse mind, we know that the real win isn't just getting to the top of the mountain. It's finally feeling like you belong there. Take a breath. Turn the thermostat up. And for once, don't look for the exit. If you've ever felt like you were your own biggest obstacle, or if you've ever ruined something great just because it felt too good to be true, please hit the subscribe and tell me in the comments, what is the one thing you would do tomorrow if you knew you wouldn't sabotage yourself? Let's deconstruct the fear together. Stop hiding from your own power. I'll see you in the next one.